Donald Trump is a successful businessman. He talks well. He means what he says. He's run very great businesses, and now that he's running our country, he's been doing a very great job for the past year and a half. And currently, you can't name a thing that I wouldn't support him on right now.
Ivanka Trump said she didn't support the taking of children away from asylum seekers.
This situation has been happening for dozens of years, not just under the Trump presidency.
Well, they said a lot of those things stemmed from Obama's administration before it even came to Trump.
I'm under the impression, I haven't done too much research into this, but I thought that even during the Obama administration, there was the same laws in effect that basically separated families.
So that means you haven't heard that Jeff Sessions announced a policy change that asylum seekers would be treated as criminals and have their children taken from them as a deterrent?
Well, if they're guilty, if they are guilty, they need to be tried.
No one wants to see children separated from their parents. That's a tactic that the left uses. This is not new. This is not a new policy that Trump instituted, and he's trying to correct it. So he wants to keep families together.
If it's not true, what was corrected?
Well, I think he's working to keep the families together now as opposed to separating them, correct?
When the policy was changed, were you relieved?
Well, I thought it was a good, I don't know how many people even knew that the policy even existed, but here in America, if you get arrested, you're separated from your family, right? You break the law, you're separated from your family.
But were you aware that these were people who were seeking asylum? They were coming from dangerous countries where their children were being recruited by gangs, their children were in danger of being raped, their own lives were in danger. There's a tradition of our country taking asylum seekers in. In the past, we haven't arrested them and taken their children.
Well, now you're asking me some tough questions. I don't have the answers to these. I'm not a politician, but I'm sure there are some people that are fleeing for those purposes, those reasons.
If you can show that you came here fearing for your life, political persecution, or you come here from a country that's torn apart by war, there's a process by which you can be granted legal status as an asylum seeker. What changed is that those people are now being treated as criminals and having their children taken away.
I'm pretty sure that Trump actually signed into law recently something that basically stops children from getting separated from their families.
Right, he changed his mind.
And it's not in effect yet, but it's going to be in effect.
No, they're not separating new families anymore. They're just having a hard time reuniting the ones that were separated.
Okay.
Did you hear the recordings of the children crying or any of that?
No, I didn't. That sucks, but I think you have to be fair. You got to let in people who are supposed to be here, not just because they want to.
When he changed his mind, did you feel good about that?
Yeah, for sure.
So you thought the policy was wrong?
I mean, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I don't have the exact statistics to back it up or anything, but I'm pretty sure that for many, many years there already was a law in effect that separated families at the border because they're coming here illegally.
I know people have said that, but that's kind of like saying forever if you get a speeding ticket, you have to pay a fine, and nothing's changed when if you get a speeding ticket, you go to jail and they take your children. Crossing the border is a misdemeanor, and the punishment suddenly was your children are taken from you and you might not see them again. So that's a big change.
I think if you're coming into this country illegally, you should come in knowing that there's going to be consequences for entering a country that you're not a citizen of.
But is that the one that you want? Your children are taken from you, you may not see them again?
I would never put my children in that position, ever.
But would you want the consequence to be that the children are taken away and possibly never found again?
Well, no, and that's why I would try to do it legally.
No, not for you. I mean, for our government, which is in a way you. Our government, for a period of time, was using the taking of people's children as a deterrent to prevent them from coming here to seek asylum.
Right, but there's also been stories about the children are being tested for DNA to see if they're actually related to the people bringing them across the border. And so the thing of it is it's not absolute on any one side or another. If you're coming seeking asylum, then you need to, again, take the proper channels for that and not just illegally cross the border. And for personal safety yourself, that's a dangerous way to go about it. If you're concerned about yourself and your welfare of your children, then do the right thing and do it the right way.
Well, we have a legal process for asylum seekers. They go through a hearing that determines whether there's a credible threat to them back home, and if there is, they're allowed to stay here.
So what's preventing them from using those channels at this point?
That's what they thought they were getting themselves into, but then they had their children taken away and they were prosecuted instead of treated as refugees.
Understood. But if you're making a move that large, I think that it's best to do a little bit of research on how the process works in order to be successful. If you're fleeing, seeking asylum because of the dangers of where you're coming from, and you're walking into dangers somewhere else, what are you improving in your life?
So that means you support the policy as deterrence.
I support people taking the proper channels to come into the United States, the legal channels, yes.
Okay, so it's yes, because the policy was reversed, so now we're not doing it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, are you glad we stopped, or are you sorry we stopped?
No, not sorry. I don't think you should ever separate parents from children. And at the same time, I think the parents should be responsible to themselves and their families and take the proper channels to come here.